Hello, my friends. This is Bud Brown, living in Dumaguete City, Philippines. Yeah, baby. Hey, I wanted to expand on my intentions to go to Vietnam. I'll say right up front that I've been to Vietnam twice. The first time was in 1971. Compliments of the U.S. Navy. I was a so-called, and I say so-called because there's a title in there and there's what you actually do. I was a so-called U.S. Naval Advisor. U.S. Naval Advisor. And I went to Vietnam. I really had a great time there, actually, in 1971. I came to the Philippines and going to Vietnam and the Philippines back and forth. And my job was to help the South Vietnamese Navy with communications, kind of in a liaison with the U.S. Navy. Of course, when I joined, I didn't know that the U.S. Navy was in Vietnam. I thought they were sitting off the ocean. But anyway, I went in and this is not what I want to talk about, but anyway, I had a great time. I had gone to school for a year to learn Vietnamese, so it was great. Second time was just a few years ago. I was thinking about coming to the Philippines, and I had retired, and so I came for a so-called recon run to see how the Philippines would be in consideration of retiring here. So I came, I had made up my mind I am going to return to the Philippines. But while I was over here, I thought to myself, I'm in Southeast Asia, and I got 10 days left. Why don't I make a quick trip to Vietnam? So I went to a travel agency, and they got a visa for me. And it so happened that my accommodations were taken care of because I had a website at that time, and there was a travel agency that said if I were to advertise for them, they would pay for my hotel or accommodations in Vietnam. So what a deal. So they set me up with a hotel in downtown Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, more commonly known as Saigon. So there were several, well, let me just tell you this. It was a horrible, horrible trip. Huh? What happened? Well, after I came back, and analyzed all the things I did wrong and all the things that went wrong, I realized that, it was my lack of preparation. There were several things. First, I was a country mouse in the big city. In other words, I had just come from Dalaget on the island of Cebu, just a little podunk town, and I went to the largest city in Vietnam. So that was a overwhelming change. And I'm from a small town in San Joaquin Valley of California, small farming town. So I'm not a big city person. So anyway, I took the plunge, but before I bought my ticket, I got to thinking, I feel kind of funny. I don't know what their attitude, the Vietnamese people's attitude would be towards an American these days. But as I got to talking with people, they said, "What, are you kidding? Or do you have any prejudice against the Germans or the Japanese?" No, not really. I mean, that was my dad's time, World War II, but that was, 50, 60 years ago. So, well, more than that. But anyway, they said, well, when you were there, that was 50 years ago. So even the people that are 50 years old would be just born, so you're not going to encounter that. So that made me realize, okay, all right. So when I got my flight, and then the flight arrived in Saigon a little after midnight. I think it was like 12:30 after midnight. And so I was pretty tired and, of course, excited and nervous. And then when I got to the airport, the immigration, oh, my heart skipped a beat. There was the immigration officer, uniform. I think it was a tan or brown uniform, red star. Oh my gosh, a communist. And if you know anything about history or people my age, my generation, oh, the communist, we were told so many bad things, better dead than, So he was there, very stern face, and I kept saying to myself, it's okay, that was then, and this is now. So I took a deep breath. Okay, so hello, good evening. But he was very stern. How many days you stay Vietnam? He said. So I knew I was staying 10 days, but then I realized there was a clock on the wall that it was after midnight. Well, so I said 10 days. And then I saw the clock on the wall. It was after midnight. So I said, 9 days. Exactly, he said. I thought my heart was going to stop. I felt like saying, well, I don't know if I want to keep on going or not. So I was very nervous. And then I said, 9 days, in a matter-of-fact way. So he has my passport. He said, you must leave Vietnam before this date. And it was a date that I had a visa to stay for 10 days. I mean, there was a date there. And what made me think was, he said before this date, and my flight was scheduled to go out that date. So for the whole 10 days I was there, I was thinking that something's going to go wrong, because he distinctly said, leave Vietnam before this date. You must leave Vietnam before this date. It turns out, as I was talking to some good Vietnamese people there, that his English was not so good. And he should have said, on this date, or by this date, or something like that. Not before this date. So he stamped it. I got out. I went through immigration. So I was still, felt like a worm in a chicken pen. So as I went, and then I got my bag, my luggage, and I didn't know what. Oh, I went to go exchange money. Oh my gosh! Here's another thing of doing your homework. Do you know how many dong, which is what the currency is called there, dong? 20,000 dong to the dollar. So if I get $100, that's adding two more. That's 2 million dong, I think. And so I didn't know what's worth what. People are talking prices. Oh, it's 57,000 dong and 125,000 and 500,000, and so the money exchange rate just messed me up bad. And even when I ended up at my hotel room, and the next day I would go down to the market there, Bintang Market, and buying fruit and stuff, I did the worst thing that any tourist should do. I just had all these thousands and thousands of dong, and here, just take what I owe you, Oh. But before that, when I got there to my hotel room, fella took my bag, took it up to the room, First thing he said, "You want woman?" "No, I don't want woman." "Beautiful woman. A lot of Vietnamese women, very beautiful. You want Vietnam?" "No, I don't want a woman." And I said, "I'm married. I don't want a woman." And then he wouldn't stop. So finally in Vietnamese, I mustered up my courage. I guess I just got upset. I said, "Tôi đã nói nhiều lần, tôi không muốn người đàn bà, hiểu không?" And he kind of like, "Oh, okay." And then he left. But I thought, oh man, this is. Of course, it was about 2:00 in the morning, and I'm not a night person. I'm an early person, so my brain and my body is kind of out of kilter anyway. So the bed was good, the hotel was good, and then when I got out the next morning, I decided, well, I'm going to just walk around town. Well, here we are, the country mouse in the big city. So first thing, I walked at the hotel, all these vendors coming, trying to sell me stuff. And you want woman and shoe shine. I said, well, maybe I could have a shoe shine. Well, that's another thing. And I'll just interject at this point. When I got back, I looked and I was considering all the things that went wrong, that upset me. There's a video that says 5 scams to be aware of in Vietnam. And I'll put that link there. So if you plan to go, or if you're just curious, you can see. And I fell for every one of them. This check, that check, shoe shine check. Well, the shoe shine wasn't a big deal, but it was, they shine the shoe for fairly cheap, but then they put in the insole, because you need an insole because your feet stunk pretty bad, according to them. So they put in an insole, and that cost, I don't know how many thousand dong. So got my shoes shined in. I thought, I'd contacted a person who was teaching at an international school. It was she wasn't an American, but she was from Europe, I think. I'm not real sure where she was from, but she was a Western lady teaching English. So she said it should cost you about $6 to catch a taxi. Well, I remembered when I came to the Philippines, several people advised me, make sure you get a taxi with a meter, because once you got a meter, then you're in good shape. Metered taxi, scam, check. So I got in a taxi, look, I saw, yeah, I had a meter. But I didn't know that there was a little button on the meter that made it go like that. So started off, several thousand dong, and then 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 80,000. And I'm thinking, man, I don't know how much that is, but it doesn't seem like it should cost that much. So every time I looked around, and I looked back, and then it's just kind of clicking off regularly. And finally, when it got to 1 million dong, I said, I'm looking at my wallet. I said, oh, well, I only have, it looked like it was about 900 or maybe 1 million dong. And I said, but I can shop at that ATM machine, get more money for you. Oh, embarrassing. How ignorant I was. And he said, no, that's okay. So I gave him what was in my wallet. It was almost 1 million dong, which was, I don't know, I'll have to calculate that later. What did I say it was? It was, well, it must have been $50 anyway. But when I got out, I called the lady and I said, I'm down here. She said, you're not that far away. And I said, it cost me 1 million dong. What? She said, it should have only cost you $6. What happened? I don't know. That's what the meter said. So that was upsetting. And then I had the bright idea to go to a museum. What kind of museum? The American War Museum. They don't call it Vietnamese War, American War. Oh, that was another big mistake. I walked in there, and of course all the pictures of the bad, evil Americans, me, doing this evil thing and that evil thing. And oh man, I said to myself, why did I walk in here? And you know, in my imagination, I saw people saying, American, look what they did when he was there. Whether they were thinking that really or not, probably not, but in my mind, I'm the guilty one and I'm the cause of all their misery. Oh! So I walked out. As soon as I walked out, lo and behold, here comes a man with amputated arm and leg. My fault. I couldn't hold it back any longer. I just started crying. The guilt was just overwhelming. And so I give him some few thousand dong, and I'm saying to myself, this is not what I expected here. So I can't think of any more things that went wrong, but like that, I did all the wrong things. I fell for every scam. But after I got back and had been here in the Philippines for a while, I said to myself, I'm going to give Vietnam another chance. I'm smarter now, supposedly, wiser now. I'm going to do my homework. I know people that live there already, and I'm sure they will, you know, accompany me to the right places and point me in the right direction. So I have decided that I'm going to go back, and I'll start off in Saigon, but I'm going to probably quickly go to other areas, Da Nang, Hanoi, Hoi An, Dalat, and different places that are smaller, hopefully not so tourist oriented. So I'm not sure when I'll go. When I make a decision, usually I allow myself to think about the possibility of doing something, and then I actually make the decision to do it, and then I get the tickets and I actually do the paperwork, and then I do it. Well, at this point, I've made the decision I'm going to do it. So it may be August or September. My birthday's in September, so that would be maybe a good way to celebrate my 70th birthday. 70! Oh my gosh. So anyway, that's the plans. That's what I did wrong, and I hope that anyone that is planning to go there will learn from my mistakes. And like I say, I'll put the link to the scam video on there so you won't make that mistake. And we'll see what happens from there. Thank you so much for watching and coming to my new channel and seeing my new videos. So until next time, bye-bye.